of these lenses. Whoop. All right, so I'm not usually one to accept lenses from brands that are not the brand of camera that I use, but when TTartisan reached out to me offering to send me this, I accepted because it's a really unique lens and I've always wanted a lens like this. This is a tilt shift, or maybe just a tilt lens. It says it's a tilt 50 on the side, so I don't think it shifts. It twists and it tilts, but it doesn't shift. And what a tilt shift lens allows you to do, or in this case a tilt lens, is it lets you get some really interesting effects. The reason I got it is because I always used to be interested in the tilt shift effect for making things look miniaturized. You sort of get this scale model effect, which you can't achieve with anything except a tilt shift lens or some software in post where you're blurring the top and the bottom of the screen. And the reason this makes it look like a miniature little set is because of that blur on the top and bottom, or the sides, depending on what you do with the lens on your camera body. And the reason for that is when you're doing macro photography, you typically get a very shallow depth of field unless you're at a very narrow aperture. And if you have a wide aperture lens, even a super wide aperture lens like 1.4, which is what this is, or 1.2, going far away from your subject is going to result in more of the background in focus as you increase the distance between the front element and your subject, that is. So by making this lens tilt, it actually reintroduces that blur or that shallow depth of field look that you wouldn't otherwise get. And that's what makes things look miniature. And I find the effect is really sold when you add a bit more saturation and you speed it up a little bit to make everything look even tinier somehow. I'm not really sure how that works. Maybe it makes it look more toy-like. But that's why I got the lens, because I always wanted to do that with a actual optical system rather than just blurring the top and bottom in post through an editing software. And there is one more feature which one of my real estate photographer friends told me with tilt shift lenses, and that is that you can actually get perfectly straight verticals doing, say, architectural or real estate photography using one of these lenses just because of the way the lens physics works, I guess. I haven't tried it myself because I'm not a real estate or architectural photographer, but I'm sure someone in the comments will be able to explain how that works, hopefully, because I do not know. Now, a little bit more specifically about this lens. Obviously, as I said, TTartisan did send this to me, but they haven't seen this video. They're not paying me to make this. I'm not getting any commission from sharing anything with you about this lens. I just think it's really cool. But something I was surprised in was the feeling of it. It's a very solid, durable feeling lens. It's got a surprisingly smooth focusing ring, which I really like the feeling of. And something that I think is really cool as well is I'll take the front and rear cap off so you can see. Here we go. The aperture ring on this thing is mechanical, which I love. I've actually never had a mechanical aperture lens. All of my lenses have a electronic aperture, which is controlled by the camera body rather than the actual control ring on the lens. But I think that's really cool. It's a very smooth action that it has, and I just love watching it go open and closed. I think that's really cool. It is a metal mount as well. It's not weather resistant and it's not autofocus. It's a manual focus f1.4 lens. I mean, I managed to get these cool effects with it, so I don't imagine you guys will have any difficulty with it either if you wanted to go and pick up one of these lenses. Oop. Sorry, that was a little bit loud. It's got a plastic body rear lens cap, and it's got a metal front lens cap, which actually hugs the outside of the rim of the lens, which I think is really cool. It looks like it does accept filters. It's a 62mm filter thread size, so you can add polarizers and UV filters and ND filters and things like that as well. I found that it was a little tiny bit on the soft side, but that's not unexpected for a lens at 1.4, especially a manual focus lens like this. But when you stop down to about 2.8, it reintroduced a bit more of that clarity and sharpness that you would expect. So overall, I think it's a really neat lens. It's very unique, it's very cool. It does have some niche applications, and I got to try one of those, which I thought was really cool. But yeah, the link is in the description if you guys want to check out that lens. As usual, thanks for checking out this video, and I will catch you in the next one.